Hey there guys, Ellen here, transformation coach, helping women over 40 transform their lives and live their absolute best life. I said to you in my last video that I would talk a bit more about changes that I've made, things that I've learnt since being diagnosed with ADHD that are actually helping me to get the most out of my days and out of my life, and to be my best self, to continue to be my best self and get optimum results. And so for me, one thing that I actually learned in my last video, I explained that my overwhelm had started to increase, even though nothing had really changed. I was still doing the same amount of things, but for some reason I just couldn't keep all of the balls in the air the way that I used to, okay? And so having always been somebody that was a high achiever, that always did more than your average person, I was finding that quite challenging because I was so used to being able to do all the things. And so what I've learned is that when there's a lot more women being diagnosed over 40, and people go, why is there such an increase in women over 40 being diagnosed with ADHD? And there's a couple of things. So first of all, women tend to be able to mask it more. Girls tend to be able to mask it more. So they don't get as diagnosed with ADHD as regularly as males do. And so in my generation, I was going to school in the 80s, and ADHD wasn't as researched. We didn't know as much about it. And in my time then, your ADHD person was typically the naughty boy that you had in your class that used to chuck tantrums and throw furniture around the classroom. That was typically what we viewed as someone that had ADHD. So it wasn't necessarily the person like me who talked all the time and was told to stop talking constantly as a child, was nicknamed some nicknames that I'm not going to repeat here because they actually weren't edifying or loving. Even though at the time, I thought that they were, but they weren't. And that's been confirmed by my psychiatrist. So for me, another thing that I've learned is that when we reach a certain age, and I'm going to say over 40, but it can happen in your 30s, guys. So it's, the timeline can change for different people because we experience different things differently, and our bodies change differently. It's not like a chronological thing that you hit 40 and suddenly this happens. So a lot of people refer to it as perimenopause, although I don't actually believe that I'm perimenopausal yet. Okay, so what happens at this season of life is that our estrogen and progesterone levels start to drop. Okay, and so those are our hormones for women. As they start to drop, a lot of things start to change. And so for women that have ADHD and other neurodivergent diagnoses, what can happen is the coping mechanisms that we have created as our scaffolding around us through our everyday lives to help us get through life and to manage life, that scaffolding kind of starts to collapse because that was reliant on that version of us with that level of estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so as our hormones change, our coping mechanisms change as well, which typically with hormone changes, you see higher cortisol. And so you see a higher level of overwhelm and stress for women at that season of life anyway. Okay. Add to that you have ADHD, which probably means you have higher cortisol levels already. Then our cortisols are going to increase because this is the estrogen and progesterone are dropping, right? And I'm not a scientist nor a doctor. This is just my understanding of it to help you on your understanding of it. So everything starts to change. So our overwhelm increases. Our sleep becomes less productive, less effective. We don't sleep as long. We don't sleep as well. Our body doesn't restore as well. So all of those things kind of exacerbate. And so it becomes like this melting pot of things. And so then all of a sudden you feel incredibly ADHD when you didn't before. And so you're like, what is going on? Why do I feel like this? I just don't feel like myself. And so for me, that was the turning point, and that was part of why I then sought out the diagnosis. And so what I've learned since then is I've been working on a Flourish Over 40 protocol in my health coaching space for women over 40. And what I've discovered is that that protocol actually helps people with ADHD as well. Okay, so working on lowering inflammation internally, working on reducing, so I added in reducing cortisol. That's not part of the thing, but I'm doing that as well. Lifting heavy weights, so working out, exercising, lifting weights, building more muscle, eating a high protein diet, supplementing with the right kind of supplementation. So with the low inflammation, I'm doing predominantly gluten-free and predominantly, where possible, dairy-free as well. And what I've learned, because those things, when you do that, you lower the inflammation internally, but those things also for ADHD, I've learned that gluten and dairy, when people with ADHD eat gluten and dairy, what that actually does is it basically makes our brain walk through mud. Okay, so it's trying to ask your brain to walk through mud. So when your brain is sluggish, often it's because of the stuff that we're putting into our body, what we're fueling our body with. And so for me, those things have my Flourish Over 40 protocol, and then working on lowering my cortisol, that has really helped me to enhance the way that I feel, the way that my brain is working, to maximize what I'm getting out of the day, and to help me feel back to feeling like myself again. And so for me, it's an incredible wellness plan that is working. And I just wanted to share that because I know that there's a lot of women over 40 who are experiencing the same things that I experienced, and they're putting it down just to perimenopause. And maybe it is, and that's okay, but maybe it's not as well. And so I wanted to share my story that can help you, or maybe it will help you with someone that you love or someone that you care about, and work with them on their journey, so that because I believe that everybody has a gift, and when we understand ourselves and we understand how to best care for ourselves, then we can maximize our potential and achieve our absolute best life. And so I want everybody to experience that. So if you found this useful, then make sure you like it and share it with other people, because sharing is caring. And, I'm not sharing these stories for anyone's sympathy or for any validation at all. It's simply me sharing because that might help you in your learning. And I wish you well on your journey.